The last person you would expect to become a successful trader almost never made it to adulthood.
And I'm sitting there with this handful of pills. Again, I'm trying to get the pills to my mouth, but I physically cannot bring them up to my mouth.
Bullied, parents divorced, ADHD, wrong friends, depression, two attempts, and a life that looked completely over before it had even begun.
One more day. Because if you can make it through one more day, you can make it through one more day. Do your absolute best every day. Your life at some point will take a turn for the best. I promise you.
Today, he's one of Namibia's fastest growing trading educators living in Germany and helping people master the market by first mastering themselves.
Like I would say 80 to 90% is psychological.
But before the funded accounts, before the success, before Germany, there was a young African boy who believed he had no future. This is the story of how one more day changed everything. Quick favor before we start. If you're watching this right now, chances are you've enjoyed at least one conversation on this channel. But a lot of people who watch regularly don't realize they are not subscribed. So just take 1 second and check if you've hit the subscribe button. It's completely free, but it helps this podcast grow. It helps me bring better stories and reach more people navigating life across borders. If this show has ever made you feel seen or understood, subscribing is your one way of being a part of this journey. And thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. And now, let's get into the episode. Gleb, welcome to Two Continents, One Mic.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. I'm so glad that I could get you here. You are the first Namibian to sit in this chair. And I feel like that alone is a statement, because where in the world are you joining us from now?
Right now, I'm joining from Munich in Germany, even though it's still like very light outside.
Gleb, I want to start here because your brand name is the first thing that grabbed me, the ADHD trader. That's not a
Yes, sir.
typical finance creator name. Most people are trying to sound polished, credible, but you
Yeah.
put a diagnosis next to your name. Why?
Dude, ADHD is like, if people will see it on this pod, you don't understand how big of an impact or how big of a role it plays in my personality, how it is. Like, I love to just be myself. When I was a kid, I always had to kind of put a mask on for everybody else because people didn't understand me. People thought like this kid is weird. He's not okay. And then they're just like, yo, we must get this kid help. And now when I'm looking back at those days, I'm like, it shaped such a big part of my personality. It has had such a big impact on other people. It's made people smile. It's made people laugh. It's made people say, dude, you are really freaking interesting. I love it when you talk about something you're passionate about. And ever since then, like I knew that ADHD was a superpower for me. It helped me focus on things that I loved, even though in school I didn't perform very well. When I loved to do something, my focus was up here.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I just decided, you know what, like I'm not going to try and be somebody that I'm not because I want to be a trusted figure in this space. So I will rather let people know that I've got a few screws loose rather than be like, yeah, I'm all professional and stuff,
That tells me a lot about who you are. You're honest, and in your space, you own it, which I think it's very amazing. Sometimes some people hide behind. It's like I don't want people to know this about me, but you've
Yeah.
turned it around, and you're showing other people that it's okay. Because I have ADHD too. I have been through my own process, but over time, you learn how to bring out the best version of that
Yes.
superpower,
100%.
Before we go anywhere, let's talk about where this all starts, right? Namibia, because most of my audience, if they're honest, probably they won't be able to point Namibia on the map. So paint the picture for us. What was it like growing up in Namibia? What shaped you before this trading story began?
Dude, that's such a great question. Like I've had people ask me where, like you are from where? Especially in Germany, I tell people I'm from Namibia. They're like, huh? What's a goed? I'm like, you've never heard of Namibia? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, cool. So picture South Africa, They're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, South Africa. Of course we know South Africa. Yeah, everyone knows South Africa. Right above South Africa on the left side, on the west side, that's where Nam is. So growing up in Namibia is very similar to South Africa. It's just not on the economical level that South Africa is on. There's a few differences, although like Namibia likes to follow South Africa in certain things.
Yeah.
But, typical African household, when you do something stupid, you get an ass whooping. Completely normal. It definitely does have an impact on how you grow up. So through that, it helped me not really do a lot of very stupid things, especially throughout my teenage years. But and then at somewhere around 5, my parents ended up, getting divorced. Moved in with my mother, and then I stayed with her up until the age of like around 18. So it was pretty difficult growing up between two parents
Yeah.
because, you know, when you want to see both of them, it's very difficult, especially when both of them are like tugging the rope to
Yeah.
to have the kid. So yeah, that was a little bit tough, but I mean, we got through it. I was able to see my dad as often as I could, although it wasn't really that much. And he at some point ended up moving away to the coast. I still stayed with my mom because I was going to school in the main city. And, having to drive 400 kilometers every weekend was just
Uh,
not feasible for us. So I kept on going to school, but because of the fact that I didn't have that father figure in my daily life, I did end up making decisions along the way in my teenagers that ended up leading me down a little bit of a darker path, and probably a path that a lot of teenagers should not have been on. It caused me to, have a lot of stress in the household. With the divorce between my parents at 5 and then everything happening in the house, that's then where I developed the ADHD part
yeah.
because there was a lot of arguing. And like, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but I'm fine with it. There was a lot of arguing. I will not lie. So your brain, when you start hearing these things, starts looking for a way to just escape. It doesn't
Yeah.
want to be there. It wants to be somewhere else because somewhere where there isn't chaos. That's where you just start developing ADHD as a child. That's where I got mine from. And then, throughout my teenage years, I started smoking, started drinking, doing all of the stupid stuff that you are always told don't go
Do.
do. I'm just like, I'm going that way. And yeah, then to keep the long story short, I went through all of those things, ended up going through a very, very dark time in my life, like once at 15, once at 17, 18. And then I ended up packing up all of my stuff last year and moving all the way across the world to Germany.
Yeah, that's very interesting. During this formative years, as a teenage years, did trading even feel like a real possibility? Like, was the world, did you even know about trading then?
Not really. Ever since I was a kid, right, there was a seed planted in my mind for very big things, right?
Yeah.
Like cool cars, everything that everybody wants, right? And I always knew like there's somehow, some way, there has to be a way to get it. My brain was always like that. It was always looking for how can I get that thing. And my dream was always to be like a massively successful business person, have cool cars, cool houses, take care of the fam and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how I was going to make it work. And then throughout like the teenage years, I started seeing, okay, but people are starting to make money online. So I started dabbling here and there. I tried to do a clothing brand at like 14, failed horribly. I
Wow.
didn't even sell a piece
At
of merch.
14.
I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I also tried to do some side hustles as well. But then later throughout the years, when I moved to my law school, I re-met a friend that I met at one of the camps that I was on. He then ended up getting into trading. And at that point, I was just trying to focus on how I can start making money online because we weren't the type of family that had a lot, right?
Yeah.
We were very middle class. And yes, my mom would have to tell me, it's not going to work this time. You're going to have to work for it and get it on your own. Sorry, ne? That's how it was. That was life. And then I was looking like, okay, cool. If I have to work for what I want and I want this thing, now I have to make a plan to get it. So then that friend of mine ended up teaching me how to trade. We ended up getting into trading, but I didn't take it as seriously as what I do now, which is probably the reason why it took me so long to get to the point where I am now. But yeah, it only entered my life at around 17.
That's interesting because some people are just naturally gonna be born
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. You know, like they have that mindset. They run the numbers already in their head without going to like a formal business school. Even though you didn't sell wine, well, you were quite young then, but you had the foundation of this is what I want to do. You had the direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Germany, how out of everywhere, why did you decide Germany? Like, walk me through that decision of Germany, choosing Germany as where you wanted to travel to.
That's a very good question. The story behind it is a little bit different from what most people have probably said on this podcast before. So this was kind of around the time where I wasn't, doing very well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I dropped out of school at 17 because I had this dream and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go all in on this dream. I don't care whether I fail or not. So I failed at multiple businesses that I started throughout that time. And when I was 19, I was basically jobless. I didn't have a job. My business was failing. I didn't have clients. I didn't have cash flow coming in. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't have a way of income to support myself. And the outreaches that I'm sending, nothing's landing. So I'm like, I need to make a plan. I don't know how I'm going to make this work. So I ended up moving to the coast and I lived with my uncle for a few weeks, started looking for jobs at the coast, so on and so forth. And I had no idea what I was doing. And this was at the beginning of the year. This was beginning of last year. I remember in January, we decided to do a 3-day fast, right? And during this 3-day fast, for some or other reason, Germany kept up coming up in my mind. And I was like, okay, this is quite weird because I didn't know what to do. I either wanted to go on a cruise or, like my parents have been telling me to do, go to Germany.
Yeah.
So, okay, Germany keeps coming up, keeps coming up, keeps coming up. I'm like, okay, cool. A few days later, I'm sitting at the edge of my bed and I just, I start praying and I'm like, God, just please guide me because I need guidance. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. So long story short, I ended up working for my dad for the next 2 weeks. My dad said he was going to send me to a mine, which I would have been fine working at, but he didn't. So I worked for my dad for 2 weeks. Ended up moving back to the main city. And then I had this career fair that I went to because I knew that, okay, now I have an opportunity to go to Germany because I speak the language.
Yeah.
And now there's this career fair happening. So I go to the career fair and I decide for the one presentation that's coming up, to sit in the front row. I didn't really think of ever going to Germany before this point, up until this moment. So it wasn't like planned or like a dream or anything. It was just like, I need to get I need to get away from home. That was it. And I'm sitting in the front of this row, and the guy who's presenting comes through. He puts his bag down. We chat a little bit, have a laugh. He interviews me, and I ended up getting the apprenticeship that I was doing for the past 11 months. And I just ended up taking the opportunity because it was like, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't have direction. I was dabbling with way too many things, with my eggs in too many baskets. And then this happened, and I really believe to this day that this, even though that I'm packing everything up and moving away again, that there was a very big lesson that I had to learn. That's just, the consistency.
Yeah.
To stay disciplined with one thing for a prolonged period of time and not always jump to shiny objects. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think consistency will eventually open doors.
Yeah.
If you keep going from one thing to another, you never really master anything.
Exactly.
So it's like now that opportunity that you started here now is starting to blossom, but you're not there anymore. You're over here now, So
Exactly.
during this period, like online, you talk about your teenage years, and you've been open about the fact that during that period there were times where you didn't want to be here anymore. I want to ask you about that, like not to dig into your pain, but because
No,
I think
anytime.
understanding that chapter explains everything that came after it. And if you're comfortable, like we can go there.
Yeah.
What was actually happening? What was the world looking like from the inside at that point?
So, when your parents get divorced, it's never easy. especially like if you live with only one parent, there's something about a household needing to have two parents.
Yeah.
It's super, super important for a lot of people. And I know that in today's society, unfortunately, a lot of us are growing up where one of the parents is not there. In my case, unfortunately, that was my dad. It wasn't by his choice. It's not like he made the choice, but I mean, it's still basically how I grew up, right?
Yeah.
Living without him and not really having that male figure that I could look up to and who I could take inspiration from and direction from and who I could be like, I aspire to be a man like him. It led me down a very bad path because I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my purpose was in life. And things from like around 13 up until 18 just kept getting darker the entire time. Because you enter your teenage years, now you're starting to explore stuff. Now
Yeah.
you're hitting puberty, your hormones are also starting to jiggle around, do their thing. And now that I was living with a single mother, and I'll need to put this in the pod for context. So even though I don't like to express it this way, I did grow up with a narcissistic mother.
Okay.
And growing up with that, it's like every single time you get spoken to, you feel like the only time that you as a kid have worth is when you can produce results based off of your tests in school. That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
And feeling like, I'm only deserving of love, deserving of affection, deserving of peace, anything that is good that a child needs, that I only deserve that when I perform well in school is what really started pushing me down the wrong path. Because of the fact that I am neurodivergent and I have ADHD, when it comes to school, your boy cannot concentrate. Like I want to jump out the window, I will be
Yeah.
honest. But I couldn't concentrate because it was boring. It wasn't stimulating. It wasn't interesting me. And I didn't see a point in it. So every time, I'm sitting in class, I'm daydreaming about the Lambo that I want to drive one day. I don't know what I'm supposed to think about because I'm not going to do math. Does it look like I want to know what the X equivalent is to Y squared? No.
That's
So I'm just
interesting.
sitting there and I'm like, nah, I'm not focusing. And so through this, my marks started dipping and dipping and dipping. And it would just be constant fighting between my mother and I, like arguments, screaming. We both made mistakes. I made my mistakes as a kid because I didn't know better.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of screaming and shouting and everything. There was a lot of very ugly stuff said as well from both sides. I'll have to admit. But, coming to 13, 14, that's when I started dabbling with the wrong friends because the only place where I felt like welcomed were around people who were doing degenerate things.
Yeah.
Like at 14, already getting drunk on the weekends, already smoking cigarettes, already smoking weed. That was me. I became one of those people because it's the only environment that I felt like I am welcome in. Not even in school with the rest of the kids did I feel welcome. So the only place where you then feel welcome is the place where you end up staying.
Yeah.
And I ended up going down that path of, starting to drink a lot from a very early age, starting to smoke, doing weed. And it just progressed from there to the point where my mother and I would have such bad fights that the one day I decided, you know what, screw this. I'm out. I'm leaving. And I call my dad and I tell him, listen, can I please move to you? Because I am done with this household. Cool. I end up moving to my dad. And anyway, so this part of my life, I get so lonely that once again, the friends that I ended up attracting were the wrong friends,
Yeah.
especially in that town. And I'm like, I get involved with this one wrong dude and start smoking again, start drinking again, start doing the stupid stuff. And then I did some very stupid stuff that my dad found out about that I won't mention yet,
Mm-hmm.
that I'll mention later on in my life. But my dad ends up finding out. Now, me and you, we both know African households. When you do very stupid stuff, we both know where that ends, my brother. So I ended up getting my ass whooped to the point where it was purple and I couldn't sit for like a week. But before anyone thinks that this is abuse, I do not see it as abuse. Like
Yeah.
to this day, I'm grateful that that happened because I genuinely believe it kept me from going down an even worse path.
Was part.
So I
Yeah.
needed that. I needed that just to get that out the way. So in any case, because of the fact that I was so lonely, my dad and I didn't really have a good relationship. I was out with the wrong friends. I just felt so broken and alone that my dad caught me smoking again. And I was like, I am not about to get my butt whooped again. Not happening. So I decide and I make a very stupid decision in that moment. So fast forward after that, I get my butt whooped. I moved to a new school. I moved back to my mother at the age of when it was grade 9. I think I was 16.
Yeah.
Moved back in that school. Same situation. I end up getting around the wrong people every single time. Started smoking weed again, started drinking again, started smoking cigarettes again, marks dropping again. So everything that happened in the past is now happening again, but this time's 3 to 4 to 5 times worse. The fighting's worse, the drinking's worse, the smoking's worse, everything is worse. And then we get to a point one day where my mother and I are fighting so hard that she had called the cops multiple times on me. And then I was like, you know what? Screw this. If I want to get cops get called on me the whole time, and now my dad's being called, I give up. So
Yeah.
there's my second time. I run to the kitchen. I get a handful of pain pills, get a glass of water, and I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes. Brother, I promise you, my face was wet as if I came out of a swimming pool from the tears running down my face. And I'm sitting there with this handful of pills. And I'm trying to get the pills to my mouth, but I physically cannot bring them up to my mouth. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why can't I get it to my mouth? I'm sitting there for probably 10 minutes and I'm getting screamed and shouted at the whole time while I'm sitting. Like my mom can see me about to take my life. Nobody cared in that moment. Nobody. To this day, I still one more time again believe that God was holding my hand from putting those pills in my mouth. So I give up on trying to even take the pills, even after all of this. I go back to the kitchen, I put the pills down, I put the water down. I got the cops called on me again. The cops escorted me to mental hospitals, mortuaries, jail cells. I talked to prisoners. I sat next to prisoners. I had to see all of this stuff, see people peeing themselves in the cells and in the mental clinics, all of this stuff, but it never changed me because it was that internal belief about myself that I was worthless and worth nothing and that I was, as I was once called as well, a piece of, you can fill in the blank.
Yeah.
After all of that, I really didn't want to live. I didn't have direction. I didn't have purpose. I felt like there was just absolutely nothing left going for me. But thankfully, I did not end up taking my life. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. It is not the way out
Mm-mm.
for anyone listening. It is never the way out.
Uh-uh.
And I think I'm going to ask this: is this what helped you birth the phrase "one more day"?
Yeah. Looking back at it now, after sharing this story with multiple people, I heard this from, I think it was Simon Sinek, but he said, there's a power in one more. Just like one more relationship, right? If you've had so many heartbreaks, one more relationship, and you might find the love of your life. All your business ideas failed. One more.
More.
You might find the business that blows up. You may think, I've got nothing going for my life. Look at all of these days that I've wasted. Look at all of the days that were dark. One more day, that day could turn into light. Ever since I started thinking about life that way, I was like, that's going to be the phrase. One more day. Because if you can make it through one more day, you can make it through one more day. And you can rinse and repeat the cycle. And if you keep doing that and you just keep trying to get better and you just do your absolute best every day, your life at some point will take a turn for the best. I promise you.
I love this, and I hope anyone that's sitting watching, standing, driving, listening to this. I think it's a phrase that I am going to actually absorb too. One more day. Take it one day at a time. Tomorrow is
Yeah,
another day. And make effort to get better each day. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that.
of
Uh,
course.
let's move back into ADHD because I want to understand what it actually feels like, not the clinical definition, not the Twitter version. For you in your daily life, what does ADHD actually do? What does your own typical day look like?
Okay, so buckle up. I hope that whoever's driving has a seatbelt on because you're about to go for a ride. So with ADHD, yeah, and you'll know this for yourself. You wake up, your mind's already busy,
It's like a clock.
running on the clock. Dude, our brains do not stop. It's 24/7, 365 constantly. So you wake up, you're already thinking, okay, cool, what's on the list for the day? What am I gonna do? We start working the second we wake up. If
Yeah.
I don't have physical work like a day job on that day, the second I wake up, I'm on the trot. So I'm
Yeah.
starting to work. I'm starting to work late at night before I go to bed. I work until I go to bed because otherwise I'm bored.
Yeah.
So we get bored
Okay.
very easily, right? That's why day jobs that do not stimulate us, for example, I'll take myself for an example. The hotel that I'm working at right now, right? And there's nothing wrong with the hotel. There's nothing wrong with the job. It's just my brain doesn't have that ability to stay in that type of environment for a prolonged period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's very repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over, and you know it day in and day out. It's not like, for example, sales or trading or whatever you can name that has variation in its day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So you get bored of things extremely easily. You will start a routine 3 days, like you can have the best routine for 3 weeks. You feel on top of the world, miss one day, out of the window. Then you're like, you don't even know yourself that you stop doing the routine. You're just like, wasn't I doing a routine like 2 weeks ago? Oh, because then you forget. So you tell 13 different stories in 2 minutes because your brain is on freaking hyperactive mode. You're at work,
Literally.
you're thinking about 20 years from now, what are my kids going to eat at 7 p.m. On a Sunday night?
Your mind is constantly like it's just a lot of tabs open in your
Yeah.
head. Like on a computer, a lot of tabs, and you're just clicking through. Throughout the day, clicking through, you're like, oh crap, I haven't finished this tab. Now you have to go back here
Exactly.
and on. Yeah, it can be challenging, and that's why it's like ADHD, struggling mentally as a teenager, and then you decided to learn trading in the financial market. It's like that is one of the most psychologically demanding thing to do, and
Yep.
you've somehow mastered it. Like that combination just sounds like a nightmare. Like,
Sometimes it can be a very big nightmare, bro. I will be very honest with you. Like, I haven't mastered it completely. I'm much better than what I was, but I'm not at the point where I want to be at. But I think there's a reason why people with ADHD can focus very well in the market. Why? Because it's not as repetitive every single day.
yes,
You have a lot of variation during the markets, bro. For example, yesterday is not the same as today. I don't have the same market structure. I have to analyze differently. I have to see, okay, but what did the market do differently today than what it did yesterday? Then I have to analyze from different points of view. Then I have to find different liquidity points. Then I have to find different breaks of structure. So it's always stimulating you because you always have to be so concentrated and so locked in. Because
yeah.
if you make one mistake, you have a painful lesson that you have to physically pay for. So you really need to have that big concentration, that stimulation, and that's what trading provides. It's a blessing because you can hyper focus, you can have that discipline, that structure, that everything because it keeps you stimulated. But at the same time, I, for example, can be very impulsive. And then because of that stuff, like you can take very impulsive trades, you may go against your risk management, you can get very emotional because sometimes, I'll be honest, everyone with ADHD, we sometimes struggle to regulate our emotions. It just is how it is. Some days you have very good days where you can really like hone in, structure everything. Your emotions are beautifully laid out and you're controlled within everything. And then you just have days where it's scattered all over the place. You can't think straight. People can see your mood is off.
Yeah.
even to the people that you love. You're trying to put a mask on because you're so used to doing it. But even through the mask, people can see, listen,
See,
what's up, bro? Like, you okay? You will never talk about it because you're still trying to regulate the emotions the whole
yeah,
time. Because you were taught as a kid that your emotions, no, none of that. Put away.
especially in an African household, you're not allowed to express
Yeah.
your emotions. It's chuck it in, like, well, you're a child. It's almost like you shouldn't have feelings, which it is very wrong. Hopefully, that's changing in the next generation of African children being raised, like being able
Yeah.
to understand. And I think it goes back to something that you said about your mom, because some African parents equate love and attention to your grades at school. A lot of
Yeah.
them think about that. It's like, okay, if you're doing well, then you have all the affection. If you're not doing well, it's almost like, move, go get better first before we can show you, which I don't think
Yeah.
is right at all. So before the funded accounts, before the success stories, and then you told us about the failed t-shirt business, clothing business. What else did you invest in that didn't take off like you would have wanted it to?
Oh, you guys are about to be surprised. So that clothing brand was number one. Then I
Mhm.
tried making, like, I don't know, designing cups. Bro, I've done so much. Oh my goodness. Even me looking back at it now, I'm like, bro, what were you doing in that spare time? Yeah, I then ended up like here when I started around 17, where I really decided, okay, now I want to take action, really change my life, turn my life around, start a business, get into it. I love this story, dude. This was my first business. It's my baby to this day. So all that I did was I was like, okay, how am I going to get things for cheap and
Yeah.
sell them for more expensive? So I'm thinking, okay, cool. I know people, I can get like tow bars or stuff for cars or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. But I'm like, okay, but margins are too low. Your initial investment is too high. I don't have the money to invest. So what else can I find? Then I see people are selling sneakers online. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like sneakers, especially Air Forces, because I always just wanted my own pair of Air Forces, right? Because we couldn't afford them. They're low key, like for a lot of African households, it's expensive. For us, it was
Yeah.
as well, 100%. So I'm like, okay, cool. How am I going to get my own pair of Air Forces? I find a supplier who's going to get me shoes for cheap and then I sell them for more expensive.
Yeah.
Cool. Find the first supplier. Text him, listen, this is my business idea. This is how we're going to do the things. He was in a different city. He's like, okay, cool. Don't stress. I'll sort you out. Cool. This guy's telling me, okay, let's put an order in for you. I'm like, cool, let's put an order in. I already have people that are ordering from me because I was advertising on Instagram, going
Yeah.
haywire, my Facebook, everything, bro. Posting that stuff. And then I tell the supplier, listen, I have customers. Here are how many pairs I need. These are the pairs that I need. These are the shoes that I need. He's like, cool, send it to you tonight. Here's the payment. So I shoot him the payment. 3 hours later, checking my phone. I'm like, huh? But I'm blocked and my money's gone. I'm like, ah. So I never had to buy inventory because it would have cost me too much.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this. Then I took this guy's money. I sent the other brother money. Now I'm scammed. Now I don't have the money. Now I'm like, cool. Now I have to pay it out my pocket. Now, okay, I had my first business that lost money. I'm like, now I have to find another supplier. Cool. So then I learned a lesson. Don't just send money like an idiot. That's lesson number one. I decide, okay, cool. There's still a lot of suppliers that I can find on Facebook. It's Marketplace, bro. Just go on Marketplace, you'll find a bunch. I go on Marketplace, find another supplier. I tell her, listen, I'd like to see the shoes before I even give you a cent. She's like, yeah, of course, no worries. Come to my house. You can check the shoes, check the quality for yourself. Everything
Oh,
good,
wow.
good, good. I'm like, great. And the one day I get a text from a lawyer, right? Now I'm 17. And if you're 17, you get a text from a lawyer, you're going to probably, poop your pants a little bit. I'll be real
Yeah.
with you guys. Get a text saying, listen, what you are doing is illegal. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. I'm like, don't worry. I'm shutting everything down, closed everything, deleted everything, took my money and ran. I was out, gone.
One
You
text
never saw
message.
me. One. I'm like, no, I am not landing in Namibian prison. you can forget about it.
It's
So that's
hilarious.
the very first proper business that I started. And to this day, I'm so freaking happy, bro. I had so much fun running that thing. It's such a memory. After that, I tried to run a marketing agency, a copywriting agency. Then I also had a video marketing agency. I had a content creation agency.
Wow.
Failed at absolutely all of them. The most clients I've ever had was one client. In my
No.
entire 2 years of trying to run businesses, I've only ever had one client and one singular client because either my sales skills were horrible and I couldn't sell my services, or I was just horrendous at what I was doing. Yes, sometimes I was. I will admit it. I'll be humble. I'll be humble. But
But
yeah, so I tried starting a few businesses back then. And then I also tried trading when I was 17. Like I said, I was very inconsistent. So I didn't know
yeah,
what I was doing. And then I literally just stayed in that kind of up and down until I decided, okay, let's get consistent, man. Let's strip everything, get consistent, get down and dirty.
that's good. And I'm thinking this is kind of like the energy you used to have passed the funded account.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know what that means, just explain that, what it means to have a funded account and to have been able to get approved and passed to get it.
Cool. Okay, so a funded account works like this. Basically, there are companies
Mhm.
that provide you with so-called capital for you to trade for them. Now, to be able to trade this capital, you have extremely strict rules in place in terms of how much you can lose on the account and what your risk per trade can be. So you need to be extremely precise with what you're doing. For example, you have 2 phases that you need to pass with most of the accounts. Or when I started, you always had 2 phases. Now you can have 1 phase, 2 phase, 3 phase, instant funded. I don't even know the whole lot of all of these things, man. But the accounts that I have right now, it's 2 phases. You need to make at least the first phase 8% on the account. And then you need to make another 5% for phase 2. And you can only on a day lose 5% of that account. And you can maximum only lose 10% of that account before you are breached and taken off and you
Oh,
have to
wow.
start again. So you pay for these evaluations that you do. For example, $5,000 is probably like $50,
Okay.
$60 for the evaluation. It's not a lot. So that's why people can get into trading for relatively cheap in quotes. So you really need to be on your risk management. You need to know how much you risk per trade. You need to have your lot sizes correct. Lot sizes refer to how many contracts you put into the market when you buy or sell a position. And you need to really have consistency because you can't go and get emotional and want to revenge trade. Because if you revenge trade, bro, that 5% for the day,
Gone.
like this, and you are out, gone.
That is interesting. I think you talk a lot about trading psychology, and most people think trading is about charts, signals, data. You
Uh,
seem to be saying it's mostly a mental game. Convince me, what percentage of trading success is psychological versus technical?
If we're talking like percentage, like I would say 80 to 90% is psychological.
Wow.
But that I could be wrong. So if somebody has better data, please do let me know because I can be wrong and I'm willing to be wrong. But to me, it really is 80 to 90% because if you look at it from the outside, trading is very simple. You literally just follow your confluences, your checklist, you check all of your boxes and you're good. And then you place your trade and you're good to go. So the strategy in and of itself, very easy, very simple. Anyone can understand it. You don't need
Yeah.
rocket science. You don't need a degree. I, with my grade 11, am able to read charts. It's like candles, bro. And the number one thing that I have seen every single person struggle with, and I've asked it this morning again when new members joined, every single one of them says it's never the strategy that is difficult. It's always the psychology behind it. Because it's either you have the fear of missing out on a trade, so you don't
Yeah.
take the proper trade, or you get emotional and you force a trade because you see, okay, but you missed out on the trade before that was sent on the group, but now you want to take the next one, even though it doesn't line up with your confluences and your checklists. You get emotional during trades, so you either close too early or you move your stop loss, risking more money, hoping that it will turn around and come back. There's so many psychological aspects when it comes to trading that it's so difficult to master that. But once you do, promise you, trading is one of the highest return on investment skills that you could possibly ever learn.
I know. It is challenging, and I do agree 100% with
Yeah.
the psychological part because me personally, I've made some interesting trades and I've made some interesting psychological decisions in respect to those trades. Gleb, you're in Germany and
Yeah.
you have always said this BMW M2 CS because
Yes, sir.
you've put this out publicly. You're working towards buying it. For people
Yes,
who
sir.
don't know cars, this is not a regular BMW, right? This is
No.
a statement. Like that
Yeah.
car is one when you pull up, people are going to be, can I jump in? What does it
100%.
what does it represent to you beyond just the car itself?
So, as I mentioned previously, like ever since I was young, I always
Yeah.
wanted to have cool cars. Bro, I'm a petrol head. I freaking love cars. My girlfriend and I are exactly the same. If we hear an engine, we're like, huh? What car is that? And to me, like the M2, the new one that came out recently,
Yeah.
it never grew on me up until this year. And, you know, I've always been a fan of BMWs. I've always wanted, like, you know, an old school 2020 M4.
Yeah.
Freaking beautiful car, right? And I'm sitting the one day, I'm just thinking, like, what's the first cool car I'd want to buy? So I'm sitting, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, well, you know, the M4 is great, the M3 is great, but there's just something about that M2. I start looking at the different variations of the M2 and so and so. And then I stumble upon the CS of the M2, the
Yeah.
2026. And that's why I wanted in Sapphire Black.
Designed it.
Because I was bullied in school. I've went through the most in school as a teenager. I was bullied because I was an outsider. I was the quiet kid. You name it, that's what I was. I'm completely the opposite now of what I
No.
was back then. So you always wanted that power ever since then. Even today, I'm like, you know, I want to make a statement. When I pull up in a car, I want people to look and be like, damn, that's a freaking nice car.
Yeah.
And also, there's an exclusivity around it because now that I'm moving back to Africa, there's only 47 of the M2 CS being delivered to South Africa. There are how many people in South Africa? I don't even know. But imagine the statistics that you are in if you have an M2 CS. There's 47. Now you have to become one of the people in that very small percentile of people to own that car.
That's pretty unique.
That to me is the goal. It has nothing to even do with the car.
I just want to have a rare spec car. Not many people have.
So that's saying I'm coming for everything that I've always wanted. Because there's people who say they want a lot of things, they talk a lot, but they will never get there because they don't take action. I'm getting there.
That's good. I applaud you for that. It's good to always, claim what you say you want. Like you have to speak it into the universe.
100%.
Which brings me to your faith because, it comes up again and again. And you talk about how your life, not as a background noise, is pretty much your central framework. When
Yeah.
did faith become real to you? Not just something that you grew up with, but something you actually have leaned on now in life.
I'll be honest, when I spoke about the times where I went through that very dark period in my life,
Yeah.
I was an atheist. I'm not really an atheist. I knew there was a God. I just didn't know what I was doing there. So, from different people, you'd get different points of views pushed onto you. Like, no, it has to be like this, and no, it has to be like that, and all this type of stuff. And you have so many opinions floating around your head that you get so confused, you just decide, nah, I'm staying out of it. That was me. Until there was one night where, because I used to move in and out of the house a lot from the ages of 18 to 20. I'm in and out of the house, living with drug dealers. Two were drug dealers. It's the two people that I stayed with. The one was a psychopath. Now, when I was staying with the one that was a psychopath, he had a girlfriend. I also had my girlfriend at that time, I'm just living with him. but I'm in such a bad point because my business is not running. I'm unemployed. Everything is like going downhill. We don't have food in the house. So what happened was I dropped 10 kilograms in body weight within a month because there wasn't food. We ate so little. And then the one night I'm just like, I can't freaking do this anymore. So I decide, okay, at that point I was already halfway starting to get into faith and church and everything.
Yeah.
So all I did was I just went down on my knees and I asked God, I'll never forget this. I said, God, if this is not the life for me, and if this woman, very important, if this woman is not the woman for me, let me fall in love. Like, let me do my thing. Let me fall. And then let me fall to a point where I don't see life without her. And
Wow.
right when that happens, rip her away from me, rip everything from me, break me down, and build me back up into the person who you want me to be. I kid you not even 3 months later, exactly every single one of those words that I spoke came true. We broke up. My best friend ended up going behind my back for my ex. I had to move back to my mother because we lost that house. Everything that you could think of going wrong went wrong.
Wow.
And I was broken. I was broken like I've never, like I wasn't or anything, but I was broken like I was never broken before, dude. It was months. I get physical pain in my heart. I don't know if it's the same for you or same for anybody listening to this. I get physical pains in my heart when I'm heartbroken. I don't know why.
There's a condition where it's like you actually physically feel like your heart is like breaking
No way.
from, yeah, it's actually a medical diagnosis. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. This is the first time that I've ever heard about.
Yeah. I'll find the name and send it to you.
But anyways, I don't know if it's like the same for you or for anybody else. Like, but for months I'd have pains in my chest, and I was just really, really broken. And then everything started leading into this move to Germany. Everything, came together. And once I moved here and I got away from everything of my past, I came here with nothing, no family, no friends, nothing. So I didn't know who I was supposed to be friends with or anything. Throughout this time, I'm still trying to be like, heavy Christian, heavy. Like, if I do one thing wrong, I'm going to die and I'm going to go to hell. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Really doing it overboard. And then I started getting to know this one mentor that I now work very closely with and I'm super grateful for, who really started, talking about it more as it is. Because it's my favorite topic to always get into, mindset, and how powerful one's brain, one's thoughts, and one's words are. Everything that I saw back home was scarcity. It was always like you don't have anything. So you're always asking and you're always chasing. But what does chasing do? Chasing repels something from you. And every successful person that I've ever spoken to says the exact same thing. You need to stop asking, like, please make me successful, please, and begging as if you don't have it. And ever since I started seeing that that's not the way one should live, that's when I really started seeing what God can truly do. And that's when I saw, okay, this might be a more effective way to connect with God. Because then I started embodying things that were taught in the Bible the way that they were originally taught. For example, I'm going to butcher this verse. So for whoever wants to butcher me in the comment section, I'm so sorry. But there's power in the tongue. Something like that is in the
Yeah.
Bible, right? There's a reason why so many people who speak in lack, like, oh, but I don't have the money. Oh, but that's too expensive. Oh, but that's too hard. Negative, negative,
Yeah.
negative. All of that leads to a negative life. So you are on a frequency and a vibration of a lifeline that is extremely negative where you are in lack and you don't have those things. Whereas, let's say, for example, okay, maybe you are in that situation right now. The only thing that benefits you more is number one, having faith. Stands in the Bible. Have faith. Do not fear. Don't be scared. Don't worry about your future because it's already written. It's already there. You can also create your own reality. You can decide today, okay, I'm going to go do something else and go do it. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything, right? the best thing you can do is just to start speaking positively. You just say, okay, how can I get that? Start becoming solution oriented. Like, look for the solutions, don't look at the problem. Start like saying, okay, positive. What's the most positive thing I can think about myself today? For example, for me, I used to always think I was worthless. That's why I was so depressed. I really felt like I had no worth. Now, today, if I wake up and I look at myself in the mirror, I look at myself and I say, I'm the freaking man.
Yeah.
I've come through all of this stuff and I'm standing here today. I'm alive. I've got another day in front of me. I'm blessed to be alive, bro. I'm the freaking man. For you, for anybody listening to this, man or woman, I'm the freaking man. I'm the baddest woman out there. Like, speak positive to yourself. Speak that
Own
positive
it.
energy.
Yeah.
Own it. Exactly.
I love this positive side, you know. A lot of people have this negative thoughts in their head where they feel like they can't, you know, that word can't.
Yeah.
It's like just remove the T and just be like, I can. You should always make effort because something I've always said, right, in life is sometimes something that you've done, just remember someone has done it before, you know, find
Yeah.
out how they did it. Like the internet is it's like a gateway now. Research
Mhm.
people, whatever situation you find yourself, try to see how, okay, what are the barriers, right? And like you said, if you have a solution, you can work backwards
Yes.
to get to, okay, this is where I am. This is the solution. How do I go from here to here? Whichever path
Exactly.
is easiest, follow that one.
Exactly.
And all of these things, did you learn
Yeah.
them in Germany, or this is something that followed you from Namibia to Germany?
You know, that's a very good question. I think I might have to say that it followed me from Namibia. I think it was everything that has ever happened
Yeah.
compounding into everything that I've learned right now. Because, you know, hate him or love him, my life changed when I started seeing Andrew Tate start popping up on my For You page. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything that anybody says, but that's normal. I mean, we're human. We're going to
Yeah.
agree and disagree on a lot of things. So there's things that I disagree with, okay? But I will have to give credit and say, like, there's a reason why I'm here today. He's one of those reasons because I never grew up with a father. And now I have this, you know, strong masculine father figure type of guy that I can look up to and, you know, aspire to be. It gave me purpose. Although I wouldn't say I've gone off of that path, but I've made my adjustments as to who I want to become personally and what I want my personality to
Yeah.
develop into. But that followed me ever since then because I started saying, you know what? People told me my whole life I wasn't going to make a success if I didn't finish school. So here's another thing. Us people with ADHD are very spiteful. So if you tell us we can't do something, we are going to go find a way to make that thing happen. And my whole life, that's what I was told. I was always told, if you don't finish school, you are going to end up a bum and homeless
Yeah.
and this and this and that and that and that, right? I decided, no, I'm going to become so freaking successful that people start looking at me and be like, we said this kid was going to end up homeless or something, that he wasn't going to make it. And then he goes and he does it. So it all followed me because everyone was like, no, you're not cut from that cloth. Like my parents. And I know that they were just trying to keep me safe. So I
Yeah.
won't hold this against them, right? But they would always tell me, like, for example, my dad would say, the millionaires, that's 1% of people that become millionaires. What makes you think you are one of them? You're from Africa. You're from Namibia. We don't have a lot of money. What makes you think you're going to make it happen? What's the best thing I can believe for myself? That I'm going
Yeah.
to make it happen. And then I take action and
Absolutely.
work towards it. I don't care if I don't achieve the goal. Like to me personally, it's not even an option to not achieve it.
Yeah.
It's a definite. Like, yes, the chances are still there, but I don't even take them into account because it doesn't serve me, doesn't benefit me. So I just keep on going. And yeah, so to answer the question, so I dwelt off a bit, but yes, I think it did follow me from back then to now.
I'm going to ask a couple questions about this. So, as an
Sure.
African in Germany, what do you think you have learned from Germany? Your experience now living in Germany as an African, what have you learned?
Yo,
That's a very, very good question. I'd say I didn't learn too much new. I think I've refined a lot of what I had learned previously. So, for example, Germany is very, if I can put it this way, cold in their approach.
Mm.
Straight-faced, discipline, work, discipline, work, 24/7, 365. That's how I see it. That's how I've seen it here. Because that's how I've been living. So it's like I've learned to have that sort of discipline of showing up every single freaking day, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
I thought I was disciplined back home. Now it's like, yo, brother, you are on it every day, bro. Every single day, up and running, up and running. Your schedule changes, you must adapt. Adaptability. So I think it developed a lot more character traits within myself than it really taught me lessons. One of the big lessons that I did learn while I was here, though, is it happened through situations. The
Yeah.
only reason why I stuck to trading is because it was the only thing I had left. I didn't have anything else besides that one account and besides the community that the educators have built that I joined and that I'm now a partner of.
Yeah.
If I didn't have those two things, I still don't know what I would be doing. I'd probably be researching on how I can skin a cat and sell the cat. I don't freaking know. I have to find a way.
That's fun. So now, the flip side, as an African, what do you think you can teach the Germans?
How to be more happy, bruh. My goodness. You walk in a store in Africa, like for the Namibians out there, you walk into Checkers. You are standing there at the cashier. You are talking a bunch of smack with this cashier for the next 5 minutes. You are laughing. You are happy. Ah, my boy, how are you? I haven't seen you in ages. All that type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come to Germany, it's just like, hello, hello. €2.99, please. Thank you. Bye.
That's a
I'm here. I'm trying to start a conversation with the cashier, bro. I'm like, how's your day? She's looking at me like, why are you asking me about how my day was? I'm like, huh?
that must have been hard when you first landed in Germany.
I almost got smacked for complimenting someone, dude. I literally complimented someone's outfit. They looked at me like, want to kill me. I'm like, yo, okay, sorry, my bad. I didn't know it was illegal.
Yeah, I've heard that about the Germans a lot, but we've been talking a lot of deep stuff. So we have
Yeah.
a tradition on this show, right? Every guest
Let's
has
go.
to play Get to Know Your Country, right? And I'm going to make some statements, true or false. And this one
Perfect.
is, I've had one other person from Namibia on the show. Shout out to Zach. Yeah, he's an American
Hey, let's
living in
go, Zach.
Namibia. So Zach did very well in the true or false. So let's see. And Zach is American now, so you got to top Zach because you're Namibian. I think they're pretty straightforward. It's not gonna be difficult. Okay,
Let's see.
so I'm just gonna say true or false, and you just tell me which one is true or
Cool.
false. Ready? Okay. True or false? Namibia is home to the oldest desert in the world.
True.
Yes, the Namib. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Namibia has a smaller population than the city of Atlanta. True or false?
True.
True. Yes. Namibia was the first African country to include environmental protection in the constitution.
I'm going to say false, bro. I don't know.
That's true. Namibia was the first African country to put environmental protection.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Okay.
Crazy.
True or false? Namibia is landlocked, no coastline.
False.
Yeah, because your dad lived in the coastline.
Exactly. I was about to
You
say
knew that
it.
one.
I knew that one, bro. I was swimming in that ocean like a baby, bro.
Last one. Namibia gained their independence in 1990. They're coming for you.
Goodness.
The Namibians are coming for you.
The Namibians are going to skin me alive, bro. Shit.
They're coming for you. Oh my God.
Oh,
That
no.
that
My
is
bad. I've been away from home for too long. I'm coming back. It's fine.
When we talked on the phone, one of the biggest things that you wanted to do, you wanted to give back your knowledge. You wanted to generate and create this community where you said there's not a lot of opportunities for Namibians or Africans in like or knowing this trading space, the trading world.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you're passionate about is teaching them and bringing this into your community in Namibia. How is that going?
So far, it's going good. My goal is to now, when I do get back, build the biggest trading community in Namibia. I want to see how many people we can empower to either, even if it's just make an extra 1,000 Namibian dollars, 2,000 Namibian dollars a month. If it helps somebody, to help somebody, even if it's just a side hustle.
Yeah.
Because I know how tough it can be. There's a reason why I started all of this. There's a reason why I want to make this work. And we've got a few things going. When I get to Namibia now, though, I'm going to go all out and make sure that I help as many Namibians as I possibly can.
That is beautiful. And this is the thing we talk about. I made a statement, I think a couple weeks ago, how sometimes Africans lose their best people outside. But
Yeah.
now we're starting to see these best people, you're going outside, you're learning, you absorb all the knowledge and you bring it back home.
Yeah.
Not all of us can leave the continent, but the few of us that can, I think it's important that whatever we learn, you bring it back to empower the people, that are home and see how we can move the continent forward. So I do applaud you for this. And to my audience, Gleb is actually a young man. Like he's not like in his 30s or anything. And his mind, his mind is just brilliant. It's good to hear young Africans thinking about how we can be better for ourselves, because when we are better, it trickles down to the people coming behind us. If when you build this platform, people are gonna look up to you and it's like, that is Gleb. He's representing Namibia. I want to be like Gleb in a positive way. That's what we want, people to empower and inspire the younger generations to try to do better. So Gleb, you're doing a great job, an amazing job. And, I'm
Thank
going
you
to
so
keep
much, brother.
looking. And now you have to teach us something in your language. So the last time an American Namibian was here, Zach taught me Oshiwambo, and
Oshivambu.
Oshiwambo.
Eish.
So, but you don't speak Oshiwambo. You speak Afrikaans.
I only speak Afrikaans, dude. Basic white boy, bro.
Okay. Well, I have learned Afrikaans too. I had Safa John. Yes, he taught me Afrikaans, and even in one of our episodes, he had a quote in Afrikaans that I put. I think it's on my page where he was explaining an African proverb. It was pretty brilliant. So I'm all ears. Teach me something in Afrikaans.
Putting me on the spot here, my guy.
It doesn't have to be anything. Something simple. It could be a greeting. It could be a thank you. Just anything. Something light. Not a whole phrase that I'm gonna be like, well.
Well, I'm gonna give you another proverb.
Okay.
It's short. It's to the point. It's easy to understand.
Okay.
So you say, "Kyk noord,
Kyk noord,
gaan voort."
gaan voort.
Yeah.
Kyk noord, gaan voort. Okay.
We use a different word, but for the sake of the podcast, I'm not going to swear because it's actually a swear word. I just replaced it with a normal word. So what this means is look north and go forth, if I were to directly translate it. No point in looking back. Just look north, look in front of you, look at what's ahead, and keep going that way. Don't go backwards. Go front.
That's a good proverb. I like that. Just point north and don't look south.
Point north.
Just keep going.
I think I'm probably pointing south right now and even shooting myself in the foot. But to me, this is north because it's in front of me.
It's okay. We got the compass going. That's funny. Gleb, last guest left a question for you. She is a young Nigerian woman living in Australia. And her question to you is, what is it that you need in your life right now to take you to the next level?
It's a very, very good question.
Yeah, you had to ponder that one.
Because there's a lot of answers that I can give. but I don't want to cut it too long.
Yeah.
So what I will say is I will say this. I need all the help and all the strength from God that I can possibly get. And I need discipline to keep it. Because there's big things coming. We're building massive, massive, massive things. There's so many amazing things that we're going to go build in Namibia. And I'm going to need every single bit of support that I can get from God to make it work.
That's beautiful. Okay. Now, what question do you have for the next guest coming on?
My question for the next guest on this podcast is going to be if you could go back to your younger self, like little you, and you could give that kid one piece of advice or one piece of inspiration, what would that be? What would you tell him or her?
Okay. That's a good question because guess what? My next question to you was actually that, like, if you could go back and
Seriously.
talk to literally, right, that was a segue into my next, because I was going to be like, if you could go back and talk to a 14-year-old, 15, 16-year-old Gleb, what would you tell him?
My girlfriend asked me this question like a few weeks ago, and I almost got emotional, dude. If I could go back and just tell him one thing, I would tell him to just not give up. Never lose hope. Never, ever, ever lose faith. Because it doesn't matter how long it may look or how you think that there's no way out. I promise you, if you just keep on walking and you believe that it's going to work out, it will. Keep faith.
It's good. I like that. Keep faith.
Keep faith.
Final question, Gleb. And it's the same question I ask every single guest. Whoever is watching this right now, they could be anywhere in the world. They could be struggling. They could be thriving. They could be exactly where you were at 16. What do you want to say to them? Your advice to them, not as a trader, not as a creator, but just as Gleb. What do you want to tell that person?
I want to tell that person that regardless of what anybody tells you, says about you, what happens to you, you are so much stronger than what you could possibly ever imagine. Your capabilities are limitless. There is nothing on this earth that you or me or anybody cannot achieve. Not even just from a financial standpoint, not from any standpoint. You are so much stronger. If I had known how strong I really was at 16, I would have never had those pills in my hand. But one thing I'm grateful for is that I know how freaking strong I am and that there is no limit to how strong you can become. One more day. That's it.
Gleb Blau, everyone, the ADHD trader from Namibia to Germany and everywhere in between. Thank you so much, Gleb, for stopping by. He's moving from Germany to Namibia in like a couple days already.
We're moving back. Take
He's
me
moving
home.
north.
Yeah, I'm moving north, bruh.
This was amazing. I'm going to be staying on top of you, seeing everything that you're doing. You know, I know you're building for now. You're building in Namibia, but I'm sure other Africans are going to be glued to this and see. I'm going to be watching your story because when that time comes, when we're seeing you online, I hope you're still going to pick our calls. Hey,
Nah, 100%. You gotta keep humble, my brother.
that's true. That's true.
Thank you so much for having me, though. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to every single person who's listened up until this point.
I truly appreciate you. And, you know, to everyone watching, thank you for spending this time with us. If you learned something today, comment below. Tell us where you're watching from. Join the Continentals. And, you know, remember, home may be where you're from, but growth is often found where you're willing to go. So until next time, this is Two Continents, One Mic. And today, the mic was with Gleb in Germany. Thanks, guys.
Peace out, people.